Hello and welcome to the Backwater Southern Gothic Horror tabletop role-playing game, Actual Play. My name is Asa and I'm one of the creators of Backwater along with Alex, who will be playing the character Swifty this evening. Backwater is an original game system and setting based in the deep south of the American lands, following an apocalyptic event known as The End. As the nation reconstructs itself, players take on the roles of heroes and wardens who keep the peace and even fend off supernatural horrors, which have only started to emerge. Welcome to Backwater, where horror writes itself. As an audio-only actual play, today's game will be entirely theater of the mind, so we'll simplify the turn order system and merge the movement and action phases. This game will feature myself as Game Master and friends Alex, Devin, Chris, and Ben as players. So I'm going to have you all introduce your characters, starting with Chris. Chris, who will you be playing?
I am Ford. I am low class, born in a smaller community. I was ostracized by my community, but my dad was always there for me. My mom was not with us. I stayed with my dad his whole life and in our community, even though I was bullied and picked on for others feeling like I had abilities that I shouldn't, or that they didn't understand. Despite this, Ford seems to be able to make friends wherever he goes. He's got a very strong, cheery disposition, and his optimism seems to draw people into him, even if he might initially annoy them.
What's your archetype? What type of warden are you?
I am a seer.
What type of animal companion do you have? And what?
I have a mutt that I encountered along my travels. His name is Coach.
All right, well, welcome to the team, Coach and Ford. Up next, Alex, who are you playing today?
Hello, I am going to be playing Gideon Swift, known as Swifty to his friends. Gideon he doesn't really remember his childhood very well. The first thing he remembers is a group of passing wardens finding him amidst the wreckage of his familial caravan out in the outskirts. He had a life then, he doesn't remember it, but he speaks with a sort of backwards, outskirts accent, and he has some sensibilities that he doesn't quite know where they came from. Because he was then brought to New Orleans, where he never really felt like he fit in. He was adopted by some upper-class merchants, but he spent almost all of his childhood trying to escape from them, or sneaking out and committing small crimes, and they never really got along, so he was a bit of a juvenile delinquent. At one point, he attempted to rob one of the local gang leaders and was definitely going to get killed, but a warden saved his life in the ensuing shootout, and so having had his life saved by wardens on 2 separate occasions, he developed a little bit of hero worship, and so when he came of age, he announced that he was going to join the wardens, much to his family's chagrin. They're a little too hoity-toity for that. They were super insulted, and so they said, yeah, you can do that, but you're going to have to repay us for all of the room and board and education that we gave you. And so he basically is a penniless member of the wardens who's constantly sort of glomming onto extra dangerous missions so he can get the hazard pay. And in doing so, he's gotten pretty good at killing stuff.
What type of warden archetype is Swifty?
Swifty is a slayer.
As a slayer, it looked like you have a favorite weapon. What's your favorite weapon? And what's its name?
Yeah, so most wardens use firearms, but Swifty has this sort of preternatural ability with a longbow, and so he uses this sort of basic technology that not a lot of wardens are familiar with or respect.
And does the longbow have a name?
No.
It's not David Bowie or something like that?
No.
I'll shut up.
No,
All right.
because Swifty isn't a dad yet, so he doesn't make dad jokes.
I'm not either, but I'm just ahead of my time.
No, but you're a Midwesterner.
David
and
Bowie
that's what we
has
do.
been dead for 800 years.
True, yeah, very true. But I like to think that David Bowie, his reputation survived the apocalypse. Ben, you are playing Aloysius. Tell us a little bit about Aloysius.
So I am Aloysius Pumpernickel. He's basically a southern dandy. Aloysius loves love, and as a result, he made some of the local papers, and as a result of that, he was disinherited by his family for the scandal he brought upon them. So after the last session, my headcanon is that Aloysius was re-inherited, if you will, and reconciled with his family, but then promptly made the newspapers again and got re-disinherited, so finds himself here again with the Wardens. Aloysius otherwise is a savant, so not really a combat guy, more of a talker. And he has an animal companion named Felicity, who is his horse.
I love Al. Up next is Devin. Devin, who are you playing today?
So I am playing Joffrey Washington. He is a high-class criminal from the Heartlands Ward, descended from George Washington and his secret league of thieves. So Joffrey has started out with smaller gigs as he's only 17, but he's always now looking for that next big score, and he figured being a warden sort of expands his opportunities to find that next big score. And if you get close to him, he'll tell you that his mother taught him lockpicking, his father taught him looting, and his grandma taught him to kill. And he has a saying he likes to tell people, which is that they say George Washington never told a lie, but that's just because he's the goddamn best there ever was. So that's Joffrey. He's a seeker, also not really a fighter.
I love him. But his grandma taught him to kill, so he's got a little bit of fight in him.
A little bit.
All right. Well, we're going to get started today, so I hope we can get through the whole arc here in about 3 hours. So you all begin in the French Quarter of New Orleans. For those of you who weren't born here, the city has not lived up to the rumors that you heard in training, much less what the caravan merchants told you in Jackson. New Orleans is a rich cultural center of the American lands with food better than anything you can find in the heartlands. Art and music abound, and a sense of joy reverberates despite the desperate conditions that confront the city. Sure, you've seen one too many snakes for a city, and the bugs are nearly as large as the boots that you use to squash them, but the soul of the city makes up for it. In fact, you can feel the soul of the city right now. That's all around you, and the crowd of people sauntering through the French Quarter. It's in the evening atmosphere, carried by the crowd's levity, laughter, and conversation. It's in the street corner music, and it's so thick that it buoys you even after a hard day of work. So you and your companions are all relaxing here in the French Quarter after having finished a mission. What was that last mission? I'll go to Swifty. This is the mission that you met the rest of these companions, your new team of wardens here. What was the last mission that you all had together?
Well, there ended up being a string of burglaries in New Orleans. Very wealthy people were having jewels, coin, stolen, while basically they, sort of phantom-esque thefts, and we ended up finding that it was a gang of child thieves, maybe ones that Jeffrey knew in the city, and it got unfortunately a little violent. There were some child bones broken, but we did end up wrangling them all alive and bringing them to justice.
Those noobs.
I know, stupid enough to get caught.
I like to think that Swifty is just going to call us each slightly the wrong name, a different version every single time.
Are you going to call Joffrey Jeffrey from here on out?
Yes, because I don't hear the difference. I think that's just some weird Heartlands shit, It's just like, It's Jeffrey, right? Whatever.
Good old Jeffrey Washington.
Shut up.
Washington.
And you, Aloysius, what are you doing? Like, come on.
Joffrey, what was there was a complication in the mission. What was that complication and how was it resolved?
The complication was there was a dead body at one of the burglaries, and so we sort of had to take a detour and figure out why there was a dead body there. And we ended up resolving it because we realized that it was just an innocent bystander trying to stop the children from stealing some of the jewels, and just an unnecessary casualty at the end of the day. Like I said, bunch of noobs.
And the children, to be clear, did not kill them. The person slipped and accidentally hit their head, I imagine, or something extremely innocent like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just unfortunate accident.
Ford, as a very friendly person, you made a couple of friends along the way. Who were the friends that you made on this mission?
I actually met, I befriended a couple of the kids that were part of this gang. I think they're probably still in their little collective family there. But we got along really well. We all liked the same games. They gave me a couple coin when I needed it. And then I also made friends with a couple of the local merchants. We played some of the games that the children showed me, actually. The merchants grew up playing in town as well, and they gave me some food because they liked my company, and I was able to share that with Coach.
Always making friends and never solving the case. Aloysius, you also made some friends during this encounter. What sort of friends did Aloysius make?
Aloysius became good friends with the widow of the unfortunate casualty of one of the burglaries, and Aloysius disappeared, seemed to be consoling the widow. They seemed to spend some time alone together, unclear exactly what was going on there, but, Aloysius was gone for large, reasonable sections of this mission.
And it was nice that the widow gave you that perfume, because I could smell it all over you. Like, I think it's a good smell for you.
It just... These are, the customs amongst nobles, as I'm sure you know.
No.
That's how you tell a story. It's not yes and, it's
Nope.
Nope. Sorry, man. I have no idea what you're talking about.
And in our last game, Al turns out was friends with many of the suspects involved in the case. Very close friends. All right, and just a little bit more here to get us started. So, as I said, you and all your companions are relaxing here in the French Quarter after solving this string of burglaries. So, after a long day on the job, what are you up to here? Again, it's late evening. It's a French Quarter, so lots of fun and entertainment going around. Let's start with Ford. What is Ford up to?
I am chatting up a couple of the people at the bar that we're at. I'm hungrier than a stash of Girl Scout cookies in an aquarium, so I am getting to know the locals, and they are offering to have me stay with them, which surprises me. I don't know if I've taken them up on it. I also don't know if they expect anything else from me, but we're all telling good stories, and I'm getting a free dinner.
Up next is Swifty. So what would Swifty be up to in the French Quarter after a long mission?
Trying to find cash. So I've probably glommed onto Aloysius because he is my hero, and I also think he has the most money. And so I'm basically trying to inveigle myself into whatever plans he happens to have. So, I assume that means we're going to various houses of wealthy individual ladies, and he's trying to get rid of me like I am toilet paper stuck to his shoe, but it's not working because I am persistent.
So Al, is that the case?
I think that's mostly the case. Swifty, you might notice that Al is kind of ambiguous at times about his social standing and the fact that he is now a warden and also a disgraced member of the landed gentry.
But you talk so fancy.
Why? Gotta get my accent.
I also assume that the evening, it means that Swifty is going to be stuck in a lot of, sitting room parlors while Aloysius and, our very kind hostess go to discuss some things, and I'm, sitting there with the maid or the butler so, nice place. Sipping tea.
The servants' quarters.
Right, they don't let me in the nice places.
They only let you in because you're still in your warden uniform. Otherwise, you'd be out in the rain, in the humidity. And Joffrey, what is Joffrey up to in the French Quarter after a long evening of work?
Oh, glad you asked. Joffrey has quite the agenda. He is finding some high-class folk, people who look like they have lots of money, and he is really pushing them to see if they're interested in his slewfish business opportunity. And it's a very lucrative opportunity to invest in these slewfish. He pulls out a book from his backpack about slewfish that he has written and planted in the library at times, and is showing them this great book all about slewfish. And that's basically what Joffrey would be doing right now.
I love it. All right. So last thing to do before we get started here is to just figure out vigilance order. So here's the order that I have for you all right now. So Ford, I have you with a 13 vigilance, Swifty with 12, Aloysius with 10, and Joffrey with a 9. Does anyone want to roll for a different place in the vigilance order? Or are they
I will go ahead and roll.
Okay.
So is it a straight D20 or?
It's a D20 plus your vigilance modifier.
Okay.
Anybody else want to roll? Joffrey?
I will for sure.
I did slightly worse, so I have a 9 now instead of a 10.
Pathetic.
Okay. I got 15.
That's pretty good. All right. Updated vigilance order. Or does anyone else want to roll as well?
I'm happy where I am.
All right.
Same.
Yeah, you two have pretty good vigilance. So it's going to go. So Joffrey, from now on, and if we do any turn order, will be starting at 15, Ford at 13, Gideon at 12, and Aloysius bringing up the rear, per usual, at 9. Okay. So, you and your companions have enjoyed an evening in the French Quarter, and just as it's starting to get pretty dark outside, you reconvene on the city streets, almost by coincidence, and begin chatting it up a little bit about the mission that you just had, sort of laughing about, the mistakes that were made along the way. Couldn't believe that you thought that that corpse was a different murder, broken child bones, maybe not laughing so much about that, although Al might be, who knows. And as you are all laughing and joking around, suddenly Aloysius, on your very nice coat that you're wearing, your fancy clothes here, you feel a light tug on your jacket. A little girl is standing behind you, pretty dirty, I'd say. She's breathing really hard as if she's been running, and you can tell that there's some fear in her eyes.
So Aloysius, the man of manners, will greet her while also gently rubbing away the dirt on his fancy clothes. Why, hello, dear. What is the problem?
Are you all wardens?
Well, who's asking?
There's an emergency. I was sent to find some wardens, and I see some of you are wardens and some of you are fancy.
Al eyes up the group, and he says, so where's the commotion? What do you need of us?
Well, you see, there's a body in the river. I need you to come quickly. And then she takes off, running towards the waterfront, and yelling back at you, Follow me, wardens!
Joffrey's fully on board. There might be a wallet in this person's pants.
That's true. I think we do get paid per body that we bring back in for... So, in addition to any discretionary funds you may find, I do think we get a reward for bringing in bodies out of the river, because that's pollution. That's littering. So...
Ford isn't listening to any of the discussion about money. Ford is already on the little girl's heels, going after her, along with Coach in tow.
Al will sigh and follow the rest of the group as they chase after the dirty street urchin.
You arrive at the riverfront, and a crowd is gathered along the strand. Among it are some faces that you know from your short time here, like Counselor Hattie Park. You see her weathered brown countenance. It's a first that you recognize. And night's falling, and she's lit a torch for herself, so it's sort of lighting her up, as well as some of the others in the crowd. Behind her is her first mate, Jacob Tran, unmistakable in his tall yellow waders that he seems to wear everywhere. There's also the rich Cazadors, Florencia and her husband Fisher. They arrive at just the same time that you do, as they are exiting the Barrateria Trading Company's office, and they're dressed as richly as ever. And then there's a little girl that just tugged on your sleeve. You follow her. She has found her place behind the leg of her mother, Vanessa or Van Pushmata, who's a grim old dame with little to say to anyone. And then there are others that you've never met, but you can still hear them muttering in confusion along the riverbank. You hear them say, "Is that Captain Cooper? How'd he get so far upstream? I thought he was lost at sea. Do you think he swam here? Where's he been all this time?" Fog hangs heavy on the strand, and their words swirl within it, all falling upon a still white form crumpled on the beach. It lays there limply, as if flung up by a vagrant wave. Upon it are clothes which drip with water, and they're covered with a peculiar green slime and strands of seaweed.
Joffrey would like to inspect the body for wallets and such.
So Joffrey's going to inspect the body here. Joffrey, I'll have you search the body then, so you can make a search roll. And while you make that roll, what do other people want to do?
Al is going to work the crowd to see what he can figure out about this person who is lying before them.
And who do you want to start with, Al? Well, the dead body, people have suggested, is William Cooper or Captain Cooper. There's Florencia Cazador and Fisher P. Cazador. There's Vanessa or Van Pushmata. There's Counselor Hattie Park, and there's Jacob Tran.
Well, as a member of the landed gentry, I think Al would head over to Florencia, who's probably the wealthiest of all, visibly wealthiest of all of these people.
And Joffrey rolled an 11.
11. Okay. I'll resolve yours in a second here. So Ford, what would you like to do while Joffrey is inspecting the body here, and while Aloysius is talking with the Cazadors?
Ford would also be drawn over to the body, looking to inspect it for wounds, knowing that just based on appearances that the body is of a dead person, but Ford, wanting to make sure that nothing can be done, would want to also make sure that there isn't anything more that he could do to try to save this person. And then Coach would be sitting by the little girl that came and got us, kind of just keeping her company.
And so to check to see for wounds and to see what might have caused them, I'll have you make an assess roll. And I know you're really good with medicine, both with nurse physical in particular, so I'm going to give you a best of 2 on that roll. So you can roll it twice. So D20 plus your assess modifiers. And while you do that, Swifty, what would you like to be doing?
Well, Swifty is very by the book, so he sees that Counselor Park is here, and so he's going to report into the counselor that the wardens are on the scene and going to try and get what the official line is and what they would like us to do for this investigation.
All right. So I'll just resolve these sort of in vigilance order here. So starting with Joffrey at the very top. Joffrey, you sort of push your way through the crowd. Again, everyone's sort of gathered here and they're gawking and sort of ogling at this apparently dead body on the strand. And the first thing that you do is not check for a pulse like your very kind and moral friend Ford is doing, but you go straight for that back pocket looking for a wallet there. As you are searching its body, you rolled an 11. Is that correct?
I did indeed.
Okay. You look at the body and you feel in the pockets. There's nothing inside them except for a few seashells. And you even take off this person's boots. You know, sometimes people hide some coin in there. And as you dump them out, there's just this really stanky green slime that pours out of the boots.
Interesting. Well, Joffrey is a little bit disappointed, but he knew Ford would be checking for the pulse, first of all. Let me just say that. But also, can he take some of the green slime just kind of with him in case it appears again or something like that, or he wants somebody to take a look at it?
Yeah, sure. Where do you want to put it?
I guess in my backpack, right? Or the...
I meant like you're going to put it in a jar. You can just throw it in a pocket in your backpack.
You could just smear it on me if you need to. My clothes are already really dirty.
Good old Swifty. Smearing.
I'm not sure I have... Does anybody have a jar? I don't have a jar.
I'll let you improvise some sort of... what sort of container would you have on your body? On your person?
I guess a jar.
Okay. Just walking around with a jar for your moonshine, probably. Part of one of your routines.
Yeah. As one does.
And you go ahead and put that slime in there.
You might ask, when is he ever going to need a jar? Now is when he's going to need a jar. Exactly now.
So many people have asked him that question over the years. Why do you always carry a jar on you, Jopper? Now you know.
I shout booyah as I put the slime in the jar.
And booyah is a very common term post-apocalypse. It's one of the phrases that really stuck around. Up next in the order is Ford, which is perfect because Ford, you also sort of mosey your way through the crowd, and you might even recognize some of the people. They move aside for you. Everyone seems to like you, Ford. You've just got such a friendly demeanor. And you walk up to the body, and you made an assess roll. What was the result?
I rolled a 9 and a 15.
Okay, so you take that 15, and is that including your modifiers too? All right, 15 is awesome. First, you notice something before you even get to the wounds, I'm just going to say you notice something right away that Joffrey did not, which is that this person who is dead, they have very long fingernails, and that just sort of strikes you as maybe a little nasty. And when Joffrey takes the shoe off, he also does not look at the feet, but they've also got some long toenails too. Beyond that, while you're sort of assessing the body, looking for wounds, you actually do not find any wounds, but this person looks clearly dead to you, and you put your hand on them to feel for a pulse, and there's nothing. The body is cold, no pulse whatsoever, but something about it seems really off to you.
Can I pinpoint what things seem off to me?
I would say, I'm sort of basing that off of your assess roll here, so something is just a little bit peculiar about this body. You aren't quite sure what it is. You can't put your finger on it yet. Like something about it's like almost a little surreal to you. It's unusual. Going over to Swifty, who's up next. Swifty, you go over to Counselor Park, and what do you say to her?
I salute her and I say, Warden Swift at your service, Counselor. I and my compatriots just showed up. Do you know what's going on?
I was out here with Jacob, and good to see you, Warden Swift. I'm glad you're so quick to the scene here. I'll definitely pass that on to the gendarme master, and with my thanks as well. But we were walking down the strand here, and we saw a group of people pointing at the river, and eventually this body pushed up to shore, and, well, I don't believe it, but it sort of looks like Captain Cooper.
I've never heard of that person. Who is Captain Cooper?
Captain Cooper, and you know, maybe you say you haven't heard of them, but it might, you might have some familiarity just because you spent some time in New Orleans for a while.
I lived a very sheltered childhood.
Counselor Park relates to you, well, there was a big storm a few years back, and there's, this cargo ship basically of apartments, and you all would know that on the docks, a lot of these cargo containers have been converted into homes and apartments, and these old cargo ships as well, which were sort of parked in the bay. And this big storm sucked this cargo ship down the river and out to sea. It was basically like a hurricane. And Counselor Park reminds you or relays to you that Captain Cooper was the sort of quartermaster of that cargo ship. And he was one of the people lost at sea. And that was several years ago.
Wow. Okay. Are you sure it's him? People can age and change a lot, and if the body was in the water, he could be pretty messed up. So, did you get a look at him? Or are you
I did get a look at him, and that's the weird thing. I've been trying to put my finger on it, but that's it. He doesn't look like he's aged a day.
Has he aged a week?
It doesn't look like he's aged at all.
Oh, okay. That's very strange.
And Ford, you think that might be feeding into something that's surreal about this person. But again, it's not quite all of it, but there's something, again, very strange going on here. And Ford, you're maybe thinking that there's something a little mystical or mysterious going on in play here. And we're going to switch over to Al real quick. And Al, you walk over to Florencia, who's with her husband, Fisher P. His nickname is the Big Fish, as you would know. Being in high society, Big Fish is not a nickname that he likes. It's a pejorative nickname, but he is the harbor master here for New Orleans. And Florencia, you would know her because she's one of the best businesswomen in New Orleans for the Barrateria Trading Company. And the two of them have made a lot of money off that company, but he also has that high position as harbor master. Is it a conflict of interest? Yes, and everyone is completely aware of that, and also apparently okay with it. But as you walk up to them, Fisher is supporting Florencia, who seems to be in tremendous shock, and Fisher doesn't look too well himself. What do you say to them?
Florencia, Fisher, what seems to be the commotion over here?
Al, what are you doing here? I thought you would have been out of the city ever since the last rumors got out.
Oh, pish posh. You know, the papers will write anything about anybody these days.
Well, the things that the papers wrote about you and those geriatric twins,
I'm just
I
saying,
would admit they're very shocking.
What a man does in the privacy of his own home, even if some of those things are true, I don't see why that's anybody's business.
Well, I have to say you might be right about that. I don't want to make it my business at the very least. But yeah, we just came out of, and they point over to this building, which all of you know is the Berteria Trading Company's headquarters, sort of near the riverside there. And they said, we heard a commotion, we popped out here, and that looks just like Captain Cooper.
Captain Cooper. Hasn't he been missing for 10 years or thereabouts?
Not 10, only a couple of years, maybe 3 years.
Okay.
Time flies, I guess, when you're having fun.
You tell me. You're telling me. Yeah, so that's mighty peculiar. Where did you know Captain Cooper?
Yes, we used to be very close with Captain Cooper before he disappeared, before he died, I guess, or we thought. It was really sad when we lost him. He sort of got a start with us. He had a bright future ahead of him too. You know, I think he could have been counselor of the docks one day if he wanted. But I just don't get how he ended up here after all these years.
And he got pulled out to sea on that ship of his, right?
Yes. Al, you're very astute. Your memory is like I almost said like a sieve, but I meant the exact opposite. It's really sharp.
You'll have to remind me, was that ship, the Wade Gale, was that one of yours, Florencia?
No. Well, maybe your memory is not as good as I thought. The Wade Gale it was like a cargo ship of apartments. So all these old cargo containers converted into apartments. But I suppose you wouldn't have spent much time over in the docks. You might be a little too busy in the Lake District and dancing it up in the French Quarter.
Well, you know me. So interesting. So has anybody seen? So Captain Cooper has. People have spotted Captain Cooper, but nobody's spotted the Wade Gale or any remnants of the Wade Gale or anybody else.
Not that you've heard of, and it seems like of all the people that you've just been talking to right now, this is the first time they've thought of it in these years. So I'm going to switch back over to our good friends Ford and Joffrey, who are looking at the body.
Ford quickly calls out towards Al and says, "Steel trap. You were thinking steel trap."
Oh, yes, your mind is like a steel trap. Thank you, Ford. Or excuse me, I don't know why they know Ford's name, but they're probably good friends. Ford's friends with everyone. And as Ford and Joffrey are looking at the body, some of the bystanders from the crowd step forward to look over your shoulder. And Van, Pushmata, the old dame, they walk up first and remark, "Yes, that's Captain Cooper, so it seems." And Then Florencia, although she's talking with Al, she, hearing Van, steps a little closer too, and as she looks a little closer at Captain Cooper, she says, "Wait, that's not Coop," she says, eyes wild. "It's alike, yet strangely unlike him." And as she says that, who is closer to the body, Ford or Joffrey?
I would think Ford would be, just because Joffrey would have been fiddling with his jar to put some of the slime in.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So Ford, as you're looking at the body here, the corpse's eyelids suddenly fling open, and they're sort of glimmering with a cold light, like the reflections of some sort of deep sea hell. That's right. And the two of you, both Joffrey and Ford, as you are examining the corpse, and suddenly, even though you think it's dead, its eyes pop open, you should make a resolve roll for me. So in other words, it freaks you out, and you're going to roll a d20, and you're going to try to roll equal to or lower than your current resolve points.
Equal to or lower, you said?
That's right.
Okay, well, I failed. I rolled a 16 and my max resolve, my current resolve is 11.
Okay, I rolled a 7.
And what's your current resolve?
13.
Awesome. So you do it with flying colors because you want to roll low on these. Joffrey, you take 3 duress. So in other words, you lose 3 of your current resolve points here. And Ford, it freaked you out, but not as much as it freaked out Joffrey here. You only lose 1 resolve point. So you can subtract that from your current resolve. So it really freaks you out, and suddenly the corpse, after its eyes fling open, it springs to its feet and it stumbles violently past you toward the crowd of people. And the corpse will lunge at the crowd, at which point Fisher steps in front of them all, raising his forearm to protect himself, and the monster's fingernails that you noticed earlier, Ford, they actually seem to resemble claws now in a new light, and they slice through Fisher's sleeves and deep into his arm, and he screams in pain. So that was actually the corpse's move. Now we're going to go in vigilance order, and we are in combat here. So starting at the top of the list is Ford. This thing jumps up and runs towards the crowd, and Fisher jumps in front of Florencia and it gets sliced. So what would you like to do?
I would like to I guess I would try to run up behind the thing we knew as Cooper and just try to trip it, like kick out its legs from under it. And
so that would be a stunt roll. Go ahead.
Okay, and I would also have Coach would be coming over to me, after having heard and seen the commotion. And you said it's a stunt roll?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. I rolled an 18.
All right. And the corpse's build is only 9. So the corpse, again, sliced through Fisher's arm, and you walk up to it and you put out your leg and trip it, knocking it to the ground. So we're going to go to Joffrey here. So Joffrey, what would you like?
Okay. So he's on the ground now? This creature?
Correct.
I think I'm just gonna sort of run up to it and hunting knife it in the back.
Yeah. So go ahead and make a melee roll. and that'll be against its reflex. And you, because it's on the ground, you can make that with a best of 2 modifier.
Got it. Okay. Uh, 13.
A 13 misses. So even though this corpse is on the ground, you pull out your hunting knife, you think easy, and right as you go to slice at it, it rolls over out of the way and hisses at you, which is unusual for a corpse. The most corpses that you see, including the one you saw earlier today, do not hiss at you.
Today is full of surprises.
At least not out of that orifice, at least. Is that the end of your turn?
Yes. Tried my best, guys.
All right, Swifty, you're up next.
All right, so Swifty, recognizing that this is a classic riverside hissing corpse, he read about that in the manual. It's still on the ground, right?
Correct.
All right, so could I run over and, like, get on it so that my knees are holding its arms down? And then I want to take my Bowie knife and just stab it through the brain.
So, do you actually want to just perfectly, like, actually aim?
Yes,
so, like a called shot?
I'm doing a called shot to the face.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
All right. Let me see if I can actually hit it. I get an 18.
And you roll that with, oh yeah, it cancels out the worst of 2 for
That's
the called
right,
shot.
because it's on the ground.
That actually hits, so you are doubling the damage dice on that.
All right, so that's going to be 4d4, not 44, but 4d4 plus 3 damage. 13 damage to the face scrapes.
All right, and because it's a headshot, it ignores what would normally be the armor score 2, that would reduce that damage. So you just stab it, and you don't quite hit it where, you might try to aim for the eye, get into the brain, something like that. But instead, you sort of get it into the face, and it sort of glances off the cheekbone. But 13 damage is a lot, and you really rip this corpse's face open. And corpses, in your experience, don't usually bleed. But this corpse is bleeding, and it's sort of a bluish blood.
All right, I'm then going to say...
take that what you will.
And I'm going to say, sir, you are in violation of Section 14 of the New Orleans Penal Code. You are in violation of disturbing a corpse and loitering, as well as assault and assaulting stench. Please stop resisting. And then I will end my turn.
And it hisses in response to...
That is also a violation, hissing at a peacekeeping officer.
I believe that code was struck down at the most recent counselor's meeting.
Ugh, the bureaucrat stopping us from doing our job. I would note my Bowie knife also has the hemorrhage special ability, so I don't know if that means anything for you.
No, it does. Like I said, this thing is bleeding, so it definitely can bleed. And it is going to make a roll here, and it is not... you do not think you wounded it in such a way where it will continue to bleed out as hemorrhaging usually might do.
Drat.
So it succeeded its health roll.
Okay, alright, sorry. Now I pass.
So Al, flirting with the masses, reciting poetry, what are you doing?
I know. Too bad Florenzia and Fisher are, they seem like they're consoling each other, so Al doesn't really see a clear opportunity. So he'll take the worst opportunity and go for the hissing corpse. Does a ranged attack against a prone target have worst of 2?
That's correct.
All right. Well, Al will take he's just going to kind of face of disgust, take out his gun and try to pop one in the hissing corpse while Swifty tries to tackle it.
I imagine you close your eyes and cringe as you take the shot.
Oh.
Joffrey would like to get out of the way now.
Yeah, right. Poor Swifty is on top of the corpse. So just to be fair, if he rolls very poorly, Swifty, you might be getting grazed by another bullet.
No, I understand. I understand.
Well, I got a 9 with worst of 2. My first roll was a 17, but unfortunately worst of 2.
Okay, so Swifty, are you wearing a hat at all?
Of course, I'm wearing my standard regulation warden hat.
Yeah, so it's a little kepi cap, and it suddenly falls off your head as a bullet whizzes by and nicks it, but you take no damage. Aloysius, when you open your eyes, the corpse is still there, still hissing, and your friend is missing a hat, but you suppose that you did an okay job.
Al looks behind him to see where what could have possibly knocked off Swifty's hat.
And coming back around to the top of the order, Swifty, I am going to have you make a build roll for me. So d20 plus your build modifier.
Cool. Just so you know, a lifetime of being a sort of underfed individual means that Swifty is super big and strong. That is not the case.
Don't worry, it's a corpse.
I got a 4.
You are flung off, and it really was not that big of a push that this thing gave you. But you go flying, and to everybody else, it seems like supernatural strength, especially because of how scrawny this corpse is.
Guys, I think it might have supernatural strength.
And but this thing gets up and it's bleeding out the face. It isn't doing all that well, but it's hissing at you all. As it's doing this, Counselor Park steps forward, brandishing her torch, and she says, "Back, beast!" And its eyes sort of widen at the flame, and momentarily you can see the flames even reflect in its eyes, but then it growls and suddenly flees towards the waterfront. Ford, you can make a counter maneuver. So you could try to trip it if you wanted to, you could try to push it, anything like that as it runs by you.
Okay, I would want to try to trip it. I essentially would want to try to restrain it, not let it run away.
Yep, so go ahead and make a stunt roll for me.
I rolled already. Let's see if I do anything to that. I don't. I rolled a 19.
Okay. And this thing is expending an adrenaline point, and it's gonna. I want you to roll that one more time.
Okay. I could send you a screenshot of this. I rolled a 20.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So it would still be the 19 it was supposed to be made with a worst of 2 here. For narrative's sake here, here's what happened. The corpse, as it's bleeding, Ford, who's very nice, bends over probably to pick up a marble. No, I'm joking. Ford sticks.
What we can say, Asa, is that Ford actually bent over to pick up Swifty's hat that was blowing away, and didn't actually even see that he was tripping the corpse.
I really appreciate that because I can't afford a new hat.
and Ford is well aware, being in similar situations himself, so he did not want any property lost.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And you have that exchange together as you thank each other, and the corpse trips over Ford's body, and as it does, it slams its face into the ground. And Ford, I'm gonna give you some extra damage here and see if you can, one last whack before the narrative tries to move forward here. So go ahead and roll 2d4 and let me know how much you rolled.
But I rolled a 4 and a 3.
Oh, nice. So you think it might have been enough to knock out this corpse. So basically, the corpse trips over you, slams its head into the side of the boardwalk, and then rolls off and splashes into the water. So it was previously on the strand, but there's also a boardwalk next to it. So a little bit of height there. And it splashes into the water. And does anyone want to run up and look down to see if it's there?
Oh yeah, I am pursuing this criminal corpse.
Do you put your hat back on first?
Yes, of course, because one cannot pursue a criminal corpse without one's hat.
Swifty swiftly places his kepi cap on top of his head, and as you run towards it, the wind whistles through the bullet hole, and everyone can hear you coming or going. As you look over the edge of the boardwalk, the corpse is gone.
Guys, the corpse is sunk or fled.
Ford goes over to the water's edge and just says, "Shoot, I really wanted to try to take care of the face wounds on him.
Oh, I think he was already dead.
My statement stands."
Oh. Well, I mean, I guess compassion towards lawbreakers is part of the code.
So you all would be pretty sure, though, that that corpse should be floating.
Yeah, corpses float.
Unless they're really waterlogged, but clearly this thing floated into shore.
What is maneuvering in water? What is the check for that?
So anybody can technically do it, but if they need to do something special, they have to make a stunt roll. Like if they want to swim real fast.
Right, but like if I wanted to go jump in the water and see if I can pull the corpse out.
Yeah, just leap on in.
Yeah, guys, I'm really good at swimming, as we all are. But Ford, can I give you my hat?
Ford takes the hat and makes sure that it's nice and folded so that nothing happens to it.
Thank you. And then I'm gonna put my bow and arrows on the strand as well, and then pop in with my knife out.
All right. So you gracefully splash into the water with your Bowie knife between your teeth, and you're looking around. And you can see like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of blood floating here and there, and there's like a little bit of a trail, but the trail ends, and you see no corpse under the water, in the water, floating on the water.
Shoot. All right. Well, I'll swim back and then take my hat with a thank you and report that the fugitive has escaped.
Is there any blood still on the knife? Any blood on the shore anywhere that we could also collect a sample?
Yes, there's definitely blood on the shore.
Is it still blue?
It is still blue.
Well, this isn't really my area of expertise, but does anybody have any clue what in tarnation we just saw?
And I'll also say forward it, you can borrow a jar from Joffrey, who almost certainly has always carried at least two jars.
Yes, infinite jars for Joffrey.
And I guess, I don't know if Ford would be aware, being a seer, of anything that might have been, but he says, well, it was scarier than a group of cloggers at Mama's house, I tell you that.
And you are unsure what sort of creature it might have been, or what sort of cloggers were ever at your mama's house, but I love it. And Al, as you ask people what in tarnation happened here, Counselor Park says, did it get away? What happened? And Jacob Tran steps up behind her and says, I don't think that was Coop.
I say thank you, Tran.
I don't think it was Coop either.
Does Tran have a side gig as New Orleans vigilante Captain Obvious, or?
Basically. You all would recognize Tran as a local mariner and first mate on Counselor Park's crabber, excuse me. So not a captain, though he might be obvious.
Well, Mr. Tran, have you ever heard of any type of sea creature of this variety? Bleeds blue blood, impersonates persons?
Claws.
Mostly about crabs and fish, if I'm being honest. Swifty, what were you going to say?
Oh, it has claws. Is there anything in the manual about this?
In the Warden's Manual, you flip through it real fast, looking in there, nothing. No such thing as a riverside hisser, like you thought you were called earlier.
Shoot. I thought it was Riverside Hissing Corpse, but that's not in the manual. I must have read that in a magazine or something.
There was slime on the body. Is there slime leading up to where we found it? Is there slime coming from the water or coming from another direction?
So you made an assess roll earlier. I'd say you'd be able to tell with that roll that slime came with the corpse, along with some seaweed and stuff. And if you want to look at the seaweed, you could make either a lore nature roll. I'd also allow another assess roll if somebody wants to do that.
Well, does Jacob, would he recognize any sea locations that have a similar slime or seaweed?
Actually, that's a great question. So you don't even have to roll. So both Jacob and even Counselor Park, because she used to be a crabber, herself, they both would remark, yeah, that seaweed, that's really weird. That's only from really deep parts of the sea. It's not something you find in a river or anything like that, near shore. That's from the depths. That sort of stuff only comes up on our crab traps.
Can Joffrey ask if there's any fish or anything like that has blue blood? Because Joffrey is still having a hard time believing all this mystical stuff that's been happening lately, and he prefers a more straightforward solution, or something.
The only so like some of the fish you think of, dark, like many things, sort of darker color blood, that sort of stuff, but no fish this big that you're aware of, except a fictional fish, which you yourself have written about, the slewfish.
Joffrey, is this one of them slewfish you were telling us about?
Oh yeah, maybe. Oh gosh, this will be an exciting research part 2 of my slewfish book. Thanks for asking, Al.
Ford says, "Oh, your book? You wrote the book?"
That's right. I did not write the book. It was written by a professional fish researcher named Joffrey Washington.
Jeffrey Washington.
Thanks for asking, Ford. Yep, that's right, guys. You know what? Let's move on. I think
Ford says, no problem.
The best con artist in all of Doris.
Swifty does remember that their commanding officer referred to Aloysius as a blue-blooded jerk, so is Aloysius a fish person?
He did smell fishy in that perfume earlier.
He did. Swifty is going to just very subtly, nick Aloysius when he's not looking to see what color his blood is. And then he's going to say, geez, Aloysius, you gotta watch out for the horn beetles, flying horn beetles.
Aloysius, you believe there are horn beetles. We don't even need to make a roll. And your blood comes out, a little purplish, but, turns red as it oxidates.
Swifty is relieved, because he does not want his hero to be an evil fish person.
Well, if none of us are aware of what sort of creature this might be, then maybe it might make sense to head over to the library and do some research.
All of my games involve going to the library.
What a nerd.
It's like I am a great supporter of the arts.
Ford says, bully, the library.
And pulls out his library card.
Which he made himself.
Shall we to the Temple of Knowledge?
Ford looks confused and says, no, we're going to the library.
Oh, that's what my dad used to call the library. It's just one of those things that's stuck. I don't know if he was being sarcastic or not, but Swifty's always liked to call it that.
Do you all want to go to the library, or is there anything else that some of you would like to do?
So did Park and Tran, so the seaweed comes from the depths. Do we have any sense of just the slime also, is that characteristic of something from the depths?
They were not aware exactly where that slime might come from.
We could check out the slime. That would be another thing.
I would want to check in with the little girl and see if she's okay before we would leave. And make sure that Coach is not hurt.
So she is standing over by her mother, Van. You have heard of Van before, Ford. Van sort of, you might relate to Van a little bit. Van ekes out a slim living with their daughter by gathering clams along the seashore sometimes. Van has lived in the docks for a long time, but a lot of people do not like them. They think them to be a witch, but the truth is just that Van doesn't like people all that much. And so the kid is, hiding behind Van's leg, and Van sort of eyes you skeptically as you walk up to him.
I don't even really say anything to Van right away. I tip my hat, but then I crouch down and I ask, what was her name?
The daughter's name?
Yeah.
You might not know the daughter's name.
I'll ask her name.
My name is Teddy.
Teddy?
Teddy, yes.
Are you okay, Teddy?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty shocked. I just watched your friend stab that man in the face.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that, Teddy. We're gonna take care of that. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. You were so brave coming to get us.
Thank you. What's your name?
I'm Ford.
Wow. It's nice to meet you, Ford. Any relation to the great president?
I don't really know. If it would make you feel better, then yes. Yes.
Wow.
And then I introduce Coach.
And Teddy begins to pet Coach, who will lick her face and play around, and you can tell that it's helping with Teddy's shock just a little bit. And Van respects that and sort of gestures you forward, like to lean in with a finger.
I'll lean in.
Okay. And Van whispers to you, I think we all know that wasn't the captain. I knew the captain, and a kind soul he was. So was his family, not of the rude or rich sort, that's for sure. And as Van says that, they look over at the Cazadors and Counselor Park and Al as well, and says, if I were you, I'd keep an eye on them four, including Jacob Tram in there as well. Can't be a coincidence that after 3 years, on the very night that the sea spits back Captain Cooper's body, those four are here to see it.
I thank her for the information, and then note that I will keep an eye on them, saying that I'm angrier than a cross-eyed mule in a power outage at having had Teddy need to see this. So I'm going to do my darndest to get some information.
So Al is once again a suspect in the underlying mystery that we're trying to solve.
Always. And Van sort of nods at you and takes their daughter away and walks down the shoreline. So the rest of you are all going to go to the library, where having fun isn't hard so long as you have a library card.
Forge waves his library card saying that.
All right. To the library. So back on the streets, you turn toward the north. The closer that you get to the Lake District, where the library is located, the quieter it gets. The nightlife settles down. So again, it's very late at night. Even the bugs begin to decline and no longer disturb the peace of the city's rich and noble in that Lake District. The district's stone wall towers over you oppressively, casting a shadow on the quarter in the moonlight. And ahead of you is one of 3 gates into the district, and 3 well-armed members of the city watch stand before it. Hark! One yells behind a glowing cigarette. She tosses it to the ground and stomps on it with her boot. State your business.
Why? We're just headed over to the library and,
Oh, is that you, Al?
Felicity. Also the name of my horse. No,
It's Felicia. It's Felicia. Oh my, Al, you're so funny.
well, Felicity, my friends and I just are gonna make a quick trip over to the library. You understand?
I completely understand. I see that a couple of them are carrying weapons, though. If you could have them leave them here with me, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Well, Al kind of looks over to the team.
I mean, those are the rules. So swiftly, one might say, hands over his accoutrement. But when he hands over his weapons, he gets really close to Felicity or Felicia's ear and is like, "Throwing a cigarette on the ground is littering. I could write you up for that."
Do you want to try to threaten her, intimidate her?
It's absolutely not an intimidation. He's just it's a polite reminder that he could do it, but is not going to do it right now.
Well, she actually does appear intimidated. You are a warden, and she is a measly city watch, and you are along the wildly respectable, maybe not so respectable, Aloysius Pumpernickel. And she might also sort of know Joffrey Washington, who seems to be in and out of the Lake District a lot for meetings and whatnot. So she seems intimidated that you're with this crowd and holding her to code.
I give her a big smile and a friendly pat on the shoulder, and I'm like, "Thank you for doing your job."
Does everyone else turn in their weapons as well?
Yes.
Joffrey will turn in his bow, but he also has a chest wrap harness. Can he keep his hunting knife in there?
Yeah, so if you want to, you can try to conceal it. So you would make a hide roll, and I think that might give you a bonus to when you try to conceal it.
Uh, 19.
So Felicia, perhaps because she feels a little intimidated, does not even check you for the knife. So you're able to sneak on in with it. And Ford, do you keep any of or do you turn in all your weapons?
Yep, I turn in my blowgun, which is my only weapon.
And she laughs a little bit as you hand it to her.
I laugh with her.
All right. She waves goodbye at Aloysius as he walks away and says, "Come on back anytime, Al."
Always, Felicity.
You all arrive at the library. So the district's southern wall sort of generally follows an elevated ridge which cuts through the city, and atop this ridge to the east sits the city library. And the current library resides in a shell of an ancient mansion on the hill. A golden statue glints atop of its dome, depicting a bald eagle. It seems to wink at you in the moonlight, and you find it hard to believe that people once lived in this massive building, besides the head librarian, Miss Flannery Washington, whose cramped quarters are visible in the back lawn. It's a cracked, stucco-sided cottage, and its windows flicker dimly, so you're lucky. The person who runs the library seems to be awake.
What time is it?
So
What general time is it?
general time? Okay. It's like, I would say, almost 11 p.m. at night at this point in time.
Wow.
Warden business never has a time limit, Aloysius. I think you told me that.
Well, I have many important affairs to attend to in the evenings, as you know, young Swifty.
Yes, and I think people do call them affairs. So Swifty's gonna march up to the librarian's cottage and give a polite but firm knock and say, "Warden business."
Oh, is that you again, Warden Swift? Miss Flannery Washington opens the door, so she's a very short, small woman with big old spectacles on. She has a little cast on one of her arms from a recent fall, but that's neither here nor there. She says, Warden Swift, you're always here in the library researching rules and laws of the city. It's so good to see you again. Are you here to review the updated code of New Orleans ever since they changed that hissing rule?
Swifty is incredibly tempted by this and says yes, and then says actually no, and then looks over at Ford because he has already forgotten what we're looking for, and Ford is a knowledgeable person.
I greet the librarian with a lot of reverence, keeper of knowledge, and say we're here looking for some information, looking to do a little bit of research on any marine type animals that might bleed blue, any more supernatural creatures, and try to get some try to get some information on some slime that might be found in the depths.
Yeah, Al would just sort of recount the events of the afternoon, kind of, again, hitting the keywords, blue blood, slime, resembles a human, claws, leave dead, see if there's anything that she can figure out using those keywords.
And since we're here, Joffrey would like to return his Slewfish book and get it back on the shelf.
Oh, that's kind of you. You check this book out more than anybody else, Joffrey.
I mean, Joffrey Washington is a genius, what can I say? I mean, it's a great, thrilling read.
Ford quickly, just quietly asks the librarian if anyone else has ever checked out this book.
People have asked about it. It seems like there's many people interested in a new business venture related to the Slewfish. I've never even heard of one.
Good thing there's a book about him, Miss Washington. And JJ's read the book.
You're right. I'm sorry, Mr. Washington. So Miss Washington leads you into the library and lights a couple of candles out in the lobby area, and she reminds you of, some of the potential services. So you all can hire her for 5 coin for an hour's worth of research, or you're welcome to research in the library yourselves. Whatever you do, it's so dark though, so it's all up to you, but it's so dark in here that Miss Washington will light a candle sort of with a frosted glass shield to protect the invaluable pages from flame and wax. So whoever researches can use that as a little reading light to preserve the book. So would you like to pay her to do the research for you? Again, she has a +5 to her research rolls.
Yeah, I'm not much of a scholar, so that's good with me unless somebody is secretly a scholar amongst us.
Yeah, I mean, if Asa is allowing us to pay her in corn as some sort of special, then I think we can manage it. Otherwise, Swifty literally has 0 coin. So.
Oh, did I say corn? Excuse me. I've got dinner on the mind. I meant coin, sorry.
Ford also looks to Al and says, well, we can research ourselves, and you'll spend the night here instead of off wherever else you might want to spend your evening.
Al will take out 5 coin and slide it across the table over to Miss Washington.
Alright. So, Miss Washington disappears into the stacks, leaving you all in the library to just sort of hang around. And after less than an hour even, maybe 30, 45 minutes, as you're all just relaxing in that lobby.
In that time, Swifty would like to go back to her cottage and make her dinner.
That's incredibly kind.
Because I like her. She's nice. I'm not a great cook, but I'll do my best.
Just throw in some corn.
You have enough experience where you won't set the building on fire, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Throw in some corn. Seems to be on the mind.
It's a very late dinner, but Miss Washington eats at unusual hours. She'll be waking up at 3 a.m. to eat again at Denny's, which has survived the apocalypse.
Of course it did.
And IHOP, I'm sure, too, and all the cockroaches inside of it. What did you make her for dinner, first of all?
The Swifty special, which is creamed corn and fried bread.
That sounds like a pretty classic dinner, too. She comes back out to the lobby. I assume maybe you brought it from her cottage back into the lobby area, and it smells so good, she says. Who brought themselves a dinner here?
Oh, this is for you, ma'am.
Oh, bless your heart. You are such a wonderful soul.
I salute and say, just doing my duty, ma'am.
I think that's above and beyond your duty. The Gendarme Master will hear from me, Warden Swift. I'll be sure to tell him about you and all your little friends here and how such good folk you are.
Actually, I think they're all taller than me, ma'am, but I appreciate it.
Oh, my vision is not as good as it used to be, but here's what I found, she says, bringing this large tome, which has like a little chain link to it. It used to be attached to the shelf, but she brought it over for you all to see in the lobby where there's a little bit more light. And the book on the side says Siderius Plugg's Encyclopedia of Eyesores and Horrors. And she flips to a section titled Sirens, Sea Fiends, and Shipwreckers. And Alex, would you be able to read this aloud? Can you see it well enough on your screen? Or should I
can, if you would like me to.
Yes.
We call them by different names, yet so far as I can tell, from this velvet wingback chair, they are one and the same. Sirens, merkin, tritons, sea satyrs, and shipwreckers. Wreckers, as most are wont to call them now, are legendary, shape-shifting, fish-like folk, known especially for their witchery and musical prowess. A common tale features a wrecker beached upon the breakers, and tempting ships toward their fates with song. Another tale, so popular in the swashbuckling romances of the Gulf, is of a wrecker taking the form of a seagull or fish, and coaxing sailors away with the promise of treasure or a wish. One old world story tells of a dolphin singing to a helmsman, causing him to fall asleep and then fall overboard. Yet many variants don't hold wreckers to be evil. Sometimes they are but one piece in a larger puzzle, leading sailors to either doom or boom. Don't mind my New England accent, it's going everywhere. An especially unique vision is their role in enacting divine justice for good mortals who are killed before their time. One famous tale, A Good Fish is Hard to Catch, tells of a sea fiend who took the form of a deceased fisherman, returning to his village and killing the man responsible for his death, a fraudulent pastor who left him for dead at sea. Another wail of a tale describes a sailor's corpse washing to shore in the Heartlands. The town prepared it for a burial, and the wife sat with the body all evening. She and her secret were discovered dead in the middle of the night, and the corpse was missing too. By sunrise, they had tracked it down, just as it transformed back into a sea fiend and escaped back into the depths from whence it came. Good or bad, fiend or friend, fact or fiction, the legends shed little light on the nature of these shifty sea folk.
Miss Washington says, you all come with the weirdest things for me to research, but this one might take the cake. It's a little even weirder than slewfish, Joffrey.
Well, I mean, that's to be expected. I mean, slewfish are totally real and normal, so, that makes sense. Also, what is up with all this weird stuff? A month ago, I didn't know about any of this. First it's vampires, now it's wreckers? I mean, come on, does anyone actually believe this?
Of course. I just saw it. I literally just saw it, and it attacked my friends. So, clearly, it's real.
So if I take this at face value, which I don't, I would say that the wrecker was clearly attacking who got the claws to the arm.
Fisher did.
The big fish.
So Fisher Cazador. Although you might also think he might have been protecting Florencia over there as well. And there's another, there's sort of everyone was sort of crowded over there, but those would have been the most direct people that the corpse could have gone after. But you do think, it could have been Counselor Park, maybe Jacob, but most directly, Fisher P. Cazador and Florencia Cazador.
Well, Joffrey thinks we should talk to those two. Those four, really, but start with those two. Yep, sorry, Al.
I second that entirely.
So we know that the counselor has a story about that night when he was, swept away. Are the others notorious for events of that evening, or is it just the counselor?
Not that you know of right now. So you definitely know that Counselor Park, has a notorious story around that. Counselor, so some quick background actually that many of you would know is that Counselor Park basically became the counselor of the docks is because she became like a folk hero after that storm. She helped prepare for the storm, and after that ship was sucked out to sea, she actually became famous for the amount of time that she searched for the ship afterwards. If you do want to see if there's other information around the others, you could go to the city archives if you wanted to. You could ask around town. You could interview them, as you were saying. Plenty of options there too.
Yeah, I'm gonna second Joffrey here, and I'd like to go back and talk to them.
Yeah, because if we really take this thing at face value again, it sounds like a wrecker would. It's searching for justice for good mortals who were killed before their time, so that would imply that the captain was murdered. Or at least led to his death in a...
Someone did something
way,
that resulted in him being killed before his time.
Yeah, but it also sounds like his ship just got sucked out to sea, so I think we should just try to figure out if somebody planned for that.
Right, there are any number of regulations that could have been broken here that would have resulted in the ship being swept out to sea. So... Swifty is not great with people, so I think Swifty will head to the archive because he does feel at home in that sort of environment with official reports and whatnot.
And Swifty, you also think that would be a good idea too, because as you're talking about those violations, you know that actually the docks, they are very careful about that sort of stuff, and they actually do regular checks to make sure that the moorings on some of these ships that are basically parked there they do checks to make sure that they're well secured every year, every spring.
Perfect. Well, I'll go visit my friend, the archivist, because we've definitely spent a lot of time together.
Can I send Coach along with Swifty so that he's not? He can maybe rest a little and keep you company.
I would love nothing more.
And where would you like to go for it?
I would want to follow the Al and Joffrey to get some more information.
Alright. So, Swifty, you pop over to the city archives. So I'm going to do you first, and then I'll join the other group. You walk through the French Quarter, gas lights aglow, in the very, very late it's basically midnight now. Here, the windows of second-story galleries and the odd Creole cottage blink lazily in the darkness. Beyond City Hall, you find the crumbling building that is the city archives. The stone columns of its entrance are thoroughly cracked, and its concrete steps have worn away to reveal the old-world steel rebar which has supported them for so many years. One of the front windows reveals a glimmer of light, suggesting that someone is working the night shift. You'll have been very lucky this evening. When you pry open the large double doors of the archives, a 70-year-old man is standing before you, dressed well in a tweed waistcoat with Coke bottle spectacles. But he's otherwise disheveled. His hair, which is white, points in every direction, and his white skin is as pale as the moonlight outside, except for the red blotches that begin forming in his cheeks. He greets you in what seems to be Creole.
I salute and say, Now, we've been through this. I don't speak that.
He sort of glowers at you, and you begin to think that the red in his cheeks is not embarrassment, but anger or frustration. So he replies back to you with a bit of an accent here. He says, Warden Swift, what are you doing here?
Come to inspect the archives, sir. I have some questions.
And he opens the door and brings you in. And just like with Miss Washington, you would know as a regular here, Swifty, that either you can pay him some money to do the research, or you can try to do it yourself. You do know that, when it's an inconvenience, sometimes Mr. Amboise, which is his name, France Amboise, he charges extra if it's an inconvenience. Do you happen to have any money on you, or did you arrange for money from somebody else, or do you want to try the research roll yourself?
I assume that I have a tab that the wardens just pay, right?
You do. I will say that you sort of, you get some spending. We'll say they gave you some spending money up front here. Yeah. I think it's normally 50 coin. I have to check the rule book again here. So let's say you got 50 coin in your pocket.
Okay, then I'm happy to pay him, and he and we do have an understanding where if it's an inconvenience, I understand that, and I agree to pay double his usual fee.
Okay, so he'll take the 10 coin, and he won't say anything about it, because normally when it's an inconvenience, he charges only 7 coin. He picks up his own little lamp and disappears into...
This is provided I've told him what I'm looking for.
Oh yeah.
Right.
What do you want him to look for in particular? Sorry, he just goes in there, pulls out some papers.
He's like, here, you want some archives? Here you go.
Is this what you want?
So I'd be looking for any records around that time of the other 3 individuals in question. If there are any, like newspaper articles or police reports or whatever, warden reports about their activities. And then I would also like to be looking at the inspection records of the ship in question. What was the name of the ship?
The Wade Gale.
Yeah, so basically any inspections on the Wade Gale for a year or so before the problem.
Okay. And do you also mention, do you want him to look up William Cooper at all too? Or just the other people? And
yeah, we should probably have Cooper as well.
Okay. So right here. So he disappears into these rooms full of filing cabinets. So the records of this city archives, everyone knows, they used to be in the basement until that great storm, the same one that sucked out the Wade Gale, left them entirely waterlogged. So from the room that you're standing in, you can smell where the archives have been relocated because they reek of rot and mildew. The rooms of the archives are now a labyrinth of wooden filing cabinets and pigeonholes whose organizational system only Mr. Amboise fully comprehends. So he goes in there among city records, public office, criminal disputes, criminal cases, birth certificates, death certificates, all that sort of stuff, licensure, financials, business, estate transactions. You can see all these different labels on all the cabinets as he disappears into the rooms. When he comes back, he pulls together a few things for you, so pardon me as I present a lot of evidence, but he rolled pretty well. First up is a public record on William Cooper. William Cooper was born 42 years ago on April 15th to John Cooper and Ann Dunn in the city of New Orleans. His mother died giving birth to his younger brother and only sibling, John Jr. The Coopers lived and worked on the docks as crabbers, eventually contracting with the burgeoning Barrateria Trading Company owned by Florencia Cazador. However, after the death of his father, William retired from the sea and devoted himself to the land. He became a captain in the docks, which is a title for the leading officer of a particular neighborhood or group of apartments. The captain liaises with the union and serves as mayor, sheriff, judge, priest, and quartermaster for their community. Captain Cooper served the Wade Gale, a cargo ship full of apartments, for most of his term. He died when the ship was cast out to sea during a violent storm. It never returned, and its remnants were never recovered. His only living relative, John Jr., perished at sea with him.
Are there photos of those two? Of John and William?
I would say yes. And
do they look similar?
They, they've got that brotherly similarity, but they're, you can definitely tell them apart.
Okay.
So the corpse that you saw does not quite look like John Jr., who was shorter, slightly less handsome, that sort of stuff. There's also a pile of newspaper clippings and what Mr. Amboise brought out. There's a whole bunch of them, so I'm going to read the headlines from many of them, and then I'll read you an excerpt from one that you thought was particularly relevant. William Cooper selected as next captain for the Wade Gale. City scrambles in the wake of imminent storm. Storm ravages city, steals the Wade Gale. Hundreds lost at sea. Local hero Hattie Park leads search for Wade Gale and beloved captain. Hundreds presumed dead after months lost at sea, and anniversary of the Wade Gale. And the one that you thought actually was most interesting was that anniversary of the Wade Gale. This Friday marks the anniversary of last year's devastating storm and the loss of hundreds of lives on the Wade Gale. As the city continues to rebuild and recover, the Docks District will host a memorial where the Wade Gale was once moored. Candles for luminaries will be provided by the generosity of the Barrateria Trading Company. And newly elected Councilor Hattie Park will deliver a belated eulogy for the residents of the Wade Gale and their beloved captain, William Cooper. We did our best to find the Gale, says Jacob Tran, first mate of Councilor Park and a member of the Search and Rescue Committee. Councilor Park searched for weeks afterward, knowing what it means for so many of us in the docks. Nearly every person in this community has been affected, says Fisher P. Cazador, harbor master and husband to Florencia Cazador of Barrateria Trading Company. Personally, we lost a close friend in Captain Cooper, whom my wife and I grew up with, and many others lost family and loved ones. This day will be remembered for some time in the city as the day that the sea claimed so many of our own. There's one other thing that I believe we found. Yes, indeed. Oops, not that. You found something that just looks to you like legal gibberish. Just a whole bunch of documents written in legalese. You aren't sure what they are, but you can try if you want with an assess roll or a decipher roll.
I will attempt that. I don't know that either of my assess or decipher skills are all that great. Yeah, I'll do an assess roll. It's just going to be a straight d20, basically. I got a 7. I don't know what this means.
Yeah, you are completely unsure what these things are.
Do I think that any of my compatriots would be able to make any sense of this?
None of them, so far as you're aware, have any legal experience besides the various times that Aloysius was sued. So, none better than you, but you do see William Cooper's name mentioned in there, and something about a storage locker, number 19.
Storage locker number 19. Okay. Alright, well, once I finish up and give France a little tip for his good work, I'll then go and try and catch up with everybody else.
Alright. So the rest of the crew, you all walk over to the Cazador's household, which Aloysius would know from memory. And Al, you bring him on over to this large manor house. Let's see if I have a description of it here. Yeah, so on a hilltop that overlooks the docks on one side and the lake on the other side stands a large and eccentric two-story home. Its front is lit up by gaslights revealing several different styles from additions that have been made to the home over the years, a sign of the Cazador's growing wealth. Candle flame can be seen glowing in several windows on the first floor.
Is it still? It's still like late in the evening.
It's extremely late in the evening, so for whatever reason, they seem to be awake.
We could just go to bed at some point, guys, but I mean, I guess we're already here.
Joffrey knocks on the door.
Or do you guys want to take a rest before coming back here?
Well, I'm okay, other than the fact that I have not slept.
Joffrey, I guess, do we think the guy who got the claws to the arm is actually there? Or maybe at the hospital? Because if he's not going to be here, I think Joffrey would be okay resting.
You wouldn't be sure per se, but this is where they live, so it'd be one of the places he'd be likely.
Al Docs.
It could be receiving some medical attention.
Florencia, Fisher.
So you're not? Okay. A maid opens the door. Al, you know her as Lenore Troutwell. And Lenore opens the door and she says, Al! And then quickly regains composure. Mr. Pumpernickel, how can I help you at such a late hour?
Well, Lenora, Al says, correcting himself as well. We are, there's a bit of hubbub down at the docks today, and we wanted to have a talk with Fisher and Florencia about it. Thought they might be able to shed some light on a few things.
Well, Florencia is here, but Mr. Cazador had an incident earlier tonight. Perhaps that's why these wardens are here with you as well. He had an encounter with something very strange, it sounds like.
Tell us more about it, Nora.
It's Lenore. But Florencia said that some sort of monster or ghost from their past attacked them on the riverfront today. Is that why you're here? She says, looking to Ford and Joffrey, who are both in their warden uniforms.
Joffrey says, yes, we'd very much like to speak with the woman of the household.
Florencia, yes, Miss Cosmo.
Florencia.
Yes. Well, right this way. And Florencia is sitting down at a table, and she appears to have been crying. She's very unhappy. She sees you all and says, "Oh, you're all here. Have you found that monster?"
Who said it was a monster, Florencia?
Well, I guess have you seen whatever, that corpse, that thing that attacked us all? I don't know. And she begins crying.
Yeah. So...
It wasn't Coop, that's all I know. It wasn't Coop.
Well, Florencia, we're trying to piece together exactly what happened, and we were looking into Captain Cooper and his background to see if that might shed any light on things. So did you know Captain Cooper?
Yes, she says, unmuting her microphone. Yes, I did know Coop. He and I were very close, as well as with Fisher too, and well, we were friends ever since we were children.
And so, did you all have, was it primarily a personal relationship? Was it a professional relationship ever?
Oh, well, he did work for us. He started as a crabber and then contracted with us at the Barrateria Trading Company, which I own. But yeah, eventually he retired. No hard feelings there. Became captain of the Wade Gale, and we were just very happy for him because, to be honest, we all three of us were such close childhood friends. It's nice to see him find success.
So, I would like to. What is the skill for deciphering somebody's intentions?
Assess, if you want to see if they're lying or anything like that.
Well, it's not my strong suit, but I will try to assess this situation. I got an 11.
You think she's being truthful. Everything seems pretty straightforward to you. She's definitely very emotional and must have shaken her up a lot. While this is going on, Joffrey and Ford, starting with Joffrey here, what are you two doing? What are you up to?
I want to ask her if she knows why the captain was on the ship during the storm in the first place. It sounds like the ship was docked, right? And then it got dragged out to sea with hundreds of people on it. I'm just curious, why were hundreds of people on this? It seemed like the storm, everyone knew it was coming. I'm just curious why all these people were on this boat.
Oh, well, they live there. You must not have been here at that time.
Oh.
You're from the Heartlands, aren't you?
I am.
Well, so in the docks here, we have a couple of ships with cargo containers that people use for homes, and these ships are just anchored here along the river, and dangerous place to live, but many people made their homes there a long time ago, and we try to keep them there and keep them as safe as possible. And Captain Cooper, he basically ran the ship. He was sort of like the mayor of the ship, I guess you could say.
I see. That's very helpful.
And he lived.
Thank you.
He lived there, I should add. Yes, he lived there too.
Can Joffrey also try to sneak off, I guess, and look around the house for anything maybe out of place? Or I assume they came back there and were arguing about, what happened and maybe left something out that might be of interest.
Go ahead and make a sneak roll.
5.
As you start to walk off in a...
Joffrey literally just leaves mid-conversation.
Yeah, he asks her a question, gets an answer, and then starts walking upstairs. Excuse me, where are you going? Are you looking for the bathroom?
Oh yeah, this isn't where I parked my horse, Felicity. Yeah, where's the bathroom?
Okay, if you go up there, it's the first door on the right, okay?
Sounds great, thank you, because really gotta go. Thank you.
Florencia, where is Fisher? Is he around?
He's having his arm checked out right now. He started to have some reactions to it. I don't know, maybe we think that he's got an infection and it's rapidly affected him. It's hard to tell.
Where is he right now?
I was going to say,
first,
as follow up to Joffrey's question about needing to use the bathroom after being unsure where he parked his horse, I would roll my eyes and just say, I better follow, like, more quietly directed to her so that Joffrey would, to make a show of Joffrey not hearing, but not really caring if Joffrey did. I better follow and keep an eye on him. You know how us young folk can be often forgetting what we're doing, so I'll follow him. And I head upstairs with him.
And she's about to thank you, and then Al asks his question, and she says, he's getting medical attention in the Lake District in particular. And she can't quite remember the name of the doctor off the top of your head, but you all know that there's a very well-known doctor there in the Lake District.
But, generally speaking, things were good between you and Cooper. You didn't have any reason to think that, someone may have been on the outs with him, if that makes sense.
Do you want to make some sort of roll against her, or do you just want to see what?
So I will say, and I'll throw in a little extra oomph here and say, Florencia, I understand that this is a very sensitive situation, a good personal friend of yours and your family, but you can trust me if there's something else that I ought to know here. So I'll try to see if I can persuade her to disclose anything that she may be withholding at the moment. So I got a 20, a natural 20 plus 3, so 23 on my persuade roll.
Okay. She blushes, and you can tell that it's definitely triggered something. And she looks at you and she says, Coop and I were very close. I'm going to switch upstairs to Joffrey and Ford. Ford, when you pop upstairs, you actually see Joffrey is already not in the bathroom. Which room are you in, Joffrey?
The master bedroom.
All right. And you are looking through the master bedroom, and there's a desk there. And why don't you... Let me see. Your vigilance score is normally a 9.
Right.
Go ahead and make me a search roll in this room if you'd like to look around in it.
Sure. I got a nat 20 with a -1.
Okay. Wow. So you actually notice a hidden compartment in the desk, which you pop open. It's underneath the desk. And inside are some letters. They appear to be love letters. And they are not addressed to anyone in particular. There are no names that are used within these letters. You are not sure who wrote them, but whoever it is, they seem to have been in a relationship. They write about really mundane things, as true love letters really do. But towards the back of the stack, something must have happened, because it seems that the person who's writing these letters is unhappy that their relationship was suddenly broken off.
Are they dated by any chance, the letters?
They are not dated.
Okay. Can I take them?
Yeah, I mean, it's all up to you. You stuff them in your pocket as Ford walks in the room.
I
Hey,
say,
Ford.
Joffrey, this isn't the bathroom.
Oh, I see. I must have just missed it then.
And then I ask Joffrey, did you find anything good?
I immediately pull out the love letters and I'm like, Ford, look at these love letters.
Looking at the letters, do they all look like they're written, like it's all one side of the correspondence?
Yes. It looks like the other side of the correspondence is missing. Perhaps the other person has them or had them.
Okay. And I tell him to put them back in his pocket and keep them hidden from sight. And I tell him to go downstairs.
Candoosville.
Gideon, as you are returning from the city archives, going over to the Cazadors, thinking, why would my good friends disturb the Cazadors so late at night? And remembering, yes, as Al once said, there is no time limit on being a warden. You are walking through the streets, and as you do, you actually catch sight of Fisher Cazador, who is leaving the Lake District and walking up the hill toward his towards the manor where all of your friends are located.
Oh, well, I rapidly approach him and say, "Good evening, Mr. Cazador, sir. Warden Swift, may I ask what you're doing out this late?"
I was receiving medical attention in the Lake District here, and he gestures toward his wound, which has clearly been bandaged. It's oozing a bit. He said, to be completely honest, I felt quite under the weather after suffering that scratch, and it's been oozing.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Could I see some ID, sir?
He's taken aback. Yes,
Just doing my duty,
Warden. And he shows you some ID. And he is indeed Fisher P. Cazador.
Does his identification have his signature on it?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool. I will make a note of what his signature looks like.
Well, you are so nifty, Swifty.
And then I will say, "Thank you, sir. Are you returning home?"
That's correct.
Ah, well, would you allow me to escort you? You know the streets are not necessarily safe after dark.
Yes, that's perfectly fine. But I think I'll be okay. Miss Cazador is waiting for me. I don't want to keep her up.
Oh, I understand, but the rest of my warden group are at your house, so I'm headed there anyway. Really, it's no trouble.
Oh, he says, and seems to make a bit of a face, a gesture, as you mention that the other wardens are at your house right now. You don't even need to make any special rolls.
Oh no, I know that face.
You can just tell that he's uncomfortable.
I know that face. It's the face my dad makes whenever I go home. I'm used to that face.
Disappointment.
Right, disappointment. So then I will gesture to him and set about my business and say, did you recognize the monster that attacked you? Some people were saying it looked like Captain Cooper.
Yes, it did look like William. A childhood friend of mine. I wouldn't mistake him anywhere. I just couldn't believe it after all these years.
Right, all three.
Yes, all 3 of these years. And suddenly he washes ashore and attacks us.
I assume it was quite a shock to see someone that you were friendly with who's dead and then attacking you with their face and hands. Sorry, yes, sir?
Oh, just indeed, yes.
Oh, yes. So how did you know him? Were you friends, business partners?
Yeah, friends. Later, he worked for my wife. We grew a bit more distant after he became harbor master. After he left working at Barataria, excuse me. But yeah, we were pretty close otherwise until then, and then he disappeared.
Why did he retire? I'm sure you guys are charitable and good employers, and the work is, I'm sure, hard but also rewarding. So he was only 40 something when he died. That's a little young to retire, isn't it?
I think he was looking to make a name for himself. A lot of people said he could have been the next counselor of the Docks District.
Who was the previous counselor, by the way? I'm really young. I don't remember these things.
Oh, well, Hattie Park is the new one. There's sort of an election cycle that year, but leading up to it, it was, Rachel Roberts. She was the counselor before this.
So was he a candidate in that election?
So it was just the beginning of the election. People were beginning to toss their names, and there was a lot of speculation that he might have thrown his name in the ring. But in the end, nothing, he was gone. Nothing happened of it. Hattie Park made a name for herself and won, and I'm sure it's as close as you can get to a unanimous vote for an entire district, I'm sure.
Would you have supported his candidacy?
I might. I think I would have, yes.
Obviously you couldn't vote, but would you have, financially donated? That sort of thing?
Yes, I would have.
That's nice. Oh. Well, I don't have any other questions, so it looks like we're here.
Oh. And as you walk up to the front door with him, he is about to knock, when suddenly he hears, and you hear as well, it sounds like somebody singing from the back of the house, and it's just this eerie, haunting tune. I need you to make me an intuition roll.
Okay, I can do that. Let's see what happens. I got a 4.
Suddenly, both you and Fisher, Mr. Cazador, feel compelled to follow the noise of the tune and to begin walking towards it. And you might try to resist, but you find, at least at the moment, you cannot resist. And the two of you begin walking towards the back of the house.
In terms of urgency, and I'm being drawn to this, do I want to get there before him, or do I just want to go?
You are just compelled. Both of you are just compelled to follow the source.
Okay, then I do so.
Yeah. Going back in the house, Al. At this moment in time, both Joffrey and Ford come back downstairs. You all begin to rejoin the chat when you see Mr. Cazador and Swifty walk by a window very slowly, calmly, walking towards the backyard of the house.
So would Coach have been alongside?
Oh, I forgot that Coach was with Swifty. So yes, he would have been. And let me make one more roll here. Coach, is following along Swifty, but is jumping around him and stuff like that, trying to stop him, wondering where he's going. And you can see Coach out there, who seems unaffected by this enchanting.
Okay, so if I would see them walking, but Coach reacting this way, I would want to step outside and talk to Swifty at least.
So you can pop out to the back door. And does anyone else want to join, or would you like to stay inside?
I don't know if I just see Swifty and Mr. Cazador walking around the backyard, if I'm necessarily going to think anything suspicious is going on yet.
Can I, going to step out, could I tell? Just make comment to Al and Joffrey and say, just stay inside. Keep an eye on her. Yeah.
Florence here.
And then I would try to quickly step out.
Ford, you look out that back door, and as you open it up, you also hear this peculiar tune. Go ahead and make an intuition roll.
21.
So yeah, it's this really haunting tune and sort of disorients you for a second, but you are not drawn toward it. You see Swifty and Fisher just clearly following the source of that tune. And as you look up, there's sort of this garden in the back with this pergola and lattice work, a very fine garden for these rich folk. And the source of the tune seems to be coming from behind it.
Can I call to Coach and ask him to start barking? And then I would also try to use my telepathy to speak into Swifty's head, to try to interrupt any of the music that tried to take over my body as well.
Yeah, so go ahead and expend your resolve point to use your telepathy. And what do you want to say to Swifty?
Swifty, it's Ford. Cover your ears right now.
And Swifty, go ahead and make me another intuition roll at that. And actually, go ahead and make it with the best of two, because you also have a dog barking, and Coach even bites gently, doesn't want to rip your pants. Coach also knows you ain't got that much money to keep these things nice, but tugs on your pants, and it gives you a little bit of an advantage here.
All right, so I got a 16 with the help of Coach and Ford's mental prodding.
And you shake yourself out of it. Sort of feels a bit like you have a hangover, but that clears up. And you recognize that, yes, you were sort of enchanted or perhaps lured by this tune. But Fisher Cazador continues to walk towards the source of the music.
Can I stop him?
Yep, you can attempt to. You can, if you want to restrain him, that'd be the best way to stop him. You can do that with a stunt roll.
Okay, yep, I will do that. And I'm pretty sure I have cuffs if this becomes necessary. But yeah, I'll make a stunt roll to try and restrain him so that he doesn't go any further towards the bad. Or whatever. So that is going to be a 23.
You easily restrain him.
Like, sir, this is a bad idea. Sir, please stop.
And you can tell he's still trying to continue to walk towards the source. He is not shaken out of it. As you grab onto him and stop his movement, suddenly something leaps forth in the darkness. You can't see much of it in all the shadows and the darkness of the night. The moonlight glimmers enough where you can see its ripped open face. It is the corpse of William Cooper. It hisses loudly and follows up with a guttural growl. And we are about to enter combat here. Starting with Joffrey inside, you suddenly hear some growling and hissing coming from outside because Ford, whatever barn he was born in, he left the back door open, so you can hear it clearly.
So Joffrey would like to run out the barn door and see what's going on.
Okay. And when you look out, there's a shadowy figure. In the moonlight, again, you can see its face has been ripped open. It appears to be the corpse of William Cooper. It looks like it's about to run at and attack Fisher Cazador and Swifty. Swifty, you can see and you recognize him in the darkness because of a peculiar fringe coming off his hat from it recently being shot. You recognize that's clearly Swifty. He's holding Fisher Cazador still. He's restraining him. Behind them all is Ford, who's still in the back step, holding his hands to his head for some reason.
Is it light enough where I could take a shot at the supposed wrecker with my longbow?
So I would say yes, but because there is no light source out here, you'd be doing it with a worst of 2 modifier. So it's just a little bit outside what you could easily see in the darkness to get a good shot.
Would that change at all if I have the night sight level 4 ability?
Yeah, it would.
Which says I can see up to 10 feet with no light. And I can see in dim light normally.
Yeah, exactly. It also increases your other vision there too. So yes, you can easily take a shot.
Okay. Come on. That is an 18.
An 18 hits. Go ahead and roll your damage.
Okay. Okay, I rolled... It's 2d4 plus apt, so I got a 3 and a 4. My apt is 3, so that's 10.
Nice. You managed to hit the wrecker with your arrow. It pierces through the corpse's skin, and as you deal damage to it, you notice something happening to it. You can see it okay with your night sight, but the shape of William Cooper begins to shimmer and suddenly turns into sort of a fishy-looking humanoid. You actually recognize it from one of the drawings in that book that you saw. This is a wrecker. It sort of looks like a, more of a fishy mermaid type of thing.
Joffrey says, just loudly, "Come on, I can't believe this is real."
Up next is the wrecker. And the wrecker, after taking that pretty massive hit, and all of a sudden you notice another change, or at least Joffrey can in the darkness with his night sight. Swifty, you're probably close enough where you can see it as well. Its wounds begin to heal. So it used an ability, expended an adrenaline point to resuscitate and heal all of its wounds. As it does so, though, the effect of its song, as it stops singing, has ended, and Fisher Cazador comes to. This fishy beast person in front of him screams. Let's see. The wrecker is going to run up to him, but has already used its action. It doesn't have a blitz action attack here, so it runs up to him and it's right about to attack him, but it's within 5 feet. Up next in the turn order is Ford. What would you like to do, Ford?
In the description in the book for the wreckers, I know it was a mix of it being good or bad. Did it say whether or not it was more intelligent?
It didn't necessarily say anything about the wrecker's intelligence, but you'd assume that it's a very, it's sentient, probably a pretty smart type of
Okay. Then I would
monster.
Call for Mr. Cazador and Coach to follow him, to call him, tell him to get inside, and tell Coach to follow. And then I would just try talking to the wrecker, say, I'm not sure if anyone in this house did anything to Mr. Cooper, but I would ask that you not hurt any of my friends. I would ask that we don't want to hurt you. Please just stop it. We can get justice for Cooper, but telepathically. Trying to, not making it seem like I'm advancing on it, but like making sure that I'm getting in between it and anyone else.
And now it seems to relax as you communicate with it telepathically here. Up next in our turn order here is Swifty. And then after Swifty will be Al.
All right, so Swifty picks up what Ford is laying down. He definitely attended all of the de-escalation seminars and the, whatever. And so he's going to encourage Mr. Cazador to indeed leave and will not attack, but will shout over to Ford, who seemed to be getting through to it. Ask it about Locker 19. Can I drag Cazador away from the thing?
Yep, you can.
Okay, I'll do that and position myself in such a way so that if it does attack, I take the damage, not him.
Okay, I like that. And Al, you are up next. Basically, Swifty has Fisher still restrained, and he's dragging Fisher back away from the wrecker. You heard, even though you're still inside, you heard Ford communicating with the wrecker, and if you want to go outside, you would see that the wrecker's body language has changed, and it looks a little less hostile after Ford has promised it vengeance.
Yeah, so noticing the kind of tense situation, or less tense situation, I guess, if you will, Al will keep a hand on his pistol, but he is not going to open fire at the wrecker for now, but he will be ready to go and pop a shot if the wrecker gets out of control.
Top of the order, the wrecker eyes Fisher cautiously and sees that Swifty has Fisher under control. Ford has just promised the wrecker vengeance in a way that the wrecker can understand. The wrecker begins to back away, not turning its back yet, but just slowly backing away into the shadows. At that moment, Fisher yells out at the wrecker, "Are you after me? Have you come for me? Yes, I did it. I killed Coop. I couldn't stand him being with Florencia." Al, from behind you in the house, Florencia had just walked outside and heard what Fisher just laid down. She begins to cry. Again, you all know, assuming probably at this point in time that she was having an affair. Al, you're very well versed in affairs. You probably picked it up right away. After he yells this, the wrecker, although maybe not understanding him, definitely understands the hostility and sprints back towards him to attack. Your ready to action goes off first, Al. Go ahead and take your shot. And again, it's dark out, so you're actually making it with the worst of 2 here.
Another closed eyes pistol shot, perhaps.
Well,
Yeah,
it won't really matter if he closes his eyes. It's dark out. Same thing.
So I got 2 20s, non-natural.
Are you shitting me?
I
Okay,
can confirm this. I'm looking at his
Al,
rolls.
closing his eyes in the
Al
dark.
yawns.
Squeezes the trigger, and you nail the wrecker in the head. And as it is about to take a slice at Fisher, Swifty steps in front of it, but instead a dead wrecker falls into Swifty's arms
Oh god. Oh,
and gets blood all over your clean uniform.
oh god, this is never gonna come out.
Fisher begins crying as he realized that under duress here he has confessed to apparently doing something that led to Captain Cooper's death. And the wrecker is dead before you. We're out of turn order. What would you like to do here? And Florencia also is crying on the back steps of the house.
Swifty gets the cuffs on this guy, although he is gentle enough that he tries to not, affect the arm wound that he had sustained previously, and starts reading him his rights as per the manual.
And as you're reading him his rights, Florencia is like, What have you done, Fish? What have you done, Fisher?
Wait, before we do that, can Joffrey grab the wound and be like, spill it?
Ah! He screams and I'll spill it! I sabotaged the moorings of the Wade Gale the night before the storm. He says, I sabotaged the moorings of the Wade Gale. I was on the inspection crew and it was interrupted that day and they just never finished, so I knew that they didn't look at the Wade Gale, and I sabotaged its moorings before the storm. And then I did it all because I loved you, Flo. I loved you.
Swifty says, "Sir, I am arresting you on suspicion of several hundred murders. I hope you have a good lawyer."
The way that the wrecker was hit, is there any hope to save it, or was it down and out at this point?
Oh, it's definitely dead thanks to Al's crack shot.
Okay, then I would go up to Joffrey and retrieve a letter from his person and take it back over to Miss Cazador.
Al yawns. I had a busy weekend, y'all. What's going on out here?
I tell Al, you're dismissed for the evening, Al. I know you have plans.
Okay. I'll let you guys take it from here.
And I point to Swifty and I say, he'll take care of the paperwork.
That is Swifty's number 2 pastime.
As you hand the letter to Florencia Cazador, she looks at it and she says, Fish and I, we were childhood sweethearts, but as I worked more with Coop, we began to fall in love. But I just couldn't hurt Fisher anymore, so I broke it off, and he must have discovered something was going on. Maybe he found my letters. I'm heartbroken.
I mean, they were in your bedroom,
They were in a
Come on.
secure location. I can't believe anyone found it.
Were they in storage locker 19, ma'am?
Nope, so hers were in her bedroom, but you, if you had figured out where the storage locker was located, you would have found some of Captain Cooper's old stuff in a storage locker that he rented before his untimely demise.
Wait, so she had the letters that she wrote to him on
Other
her...
way around.
Okay,
She had the letters that he wrote to her,
Right.
and
So
he had the letters that she wrote to him.
Okay.
So I guess just as postscript, so however this continues to resolve, Ford would connect with Swifty to make sure we each have all the information, and Ford would ensure that he follows up to get the belongings in locker 19 to offer them to either Miss Cazador or for more of a burial.
Excellent. So everybody, that is a wrap for tonight. Thank you for staying up so late. And maybe one day we can continue with some of these characters here. But I appreciate you all taking the time, and hopefully most of the story made enough sense to you all. There are a few more clues and other things you could have picked out, but I think you did a pretty good job for the time you had.
Yeah, thank you, man. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for running.